Sewell here from the Property Investment Store, and today I'll be presenting to you a great new product that we have. I've been in this industry for about 28 years now, and I guess in my time in this industry I've seen a lot of good and bad things come along, and I think this is one of the most revolutionary products that I've seen to date. I think this is going to transform people's ability to get into the investment property market and give people who never would have had an opportunity before a chance to invest in a property in a way that they've probably never seen before. This is not new in any real shape or form, but this concept, but it certainly is the way we're doing it, very innovative, and we believe one of the best products, as I said, that I believe we've seen in all these years. So let's get started. We're going to be talking about safe property, which is fractional investing, revolutionising your chance of property investing sooner. Safe property, fractional investing. You wonder what that all is all about. Well, let's go through it. Let's make it real simple. We spend a lot of time in our business building, managing, designing NDIS SDA homes, which we sell to our investors. These homes are special homes. They're homes designed for people with disabilities who are on the NDIS, who get special funding through their SDA plans to live in a specially designed disability style home. We have been in this sector for about 6 years. We have our own property management business that looks after the management side of the business. And we believe we've done a very good job. We've well over 100 properties that we've built. We've got over a 95% occupancy rate for our properties, and we know how this space works very well. I suppose the biggest problem for most investors that we see is that to get into an NDIS SDA property is a little bit hard. A lot of people want to buy one because the returns can be fantastic, but the issue is that they don't necessarily have the ability to be able to buy something like that because they just don't have the capacity, or they don't have, I guess, the borrowing power to get into it. So they might have no equity in their home, not enough equity in their home to buy, or they might not have enough income to get into something like this, which is painful. Because we would love to see more people have that opportunity, and it would obviously be great to be able to provide people with disabilities more opportunity for homes. So probably the common statement we hear is that people will say, I would love to buy $1 million NDIS SDA property in a high growth area, getting me an excellent return, but I don't have enough money. So very common statement. And look, over all these years I've been doing this, we probably deal with the top 15% of the market. People in Australia who can afford to buy investment property. And I guess that's the problem. We're dealing with a very small sector of the community who can afford to do this. But I believe this new product, this fractional investing product that we have through Safe Property, allows the other 85% of people to get into the market and be able to get into something that they probably never thought they could. So we're going to be talking today a lot about the NDIS SDA properties. So they're the properties we are talking about, and how to get into one of those in a certain way that will be able to enable most people to get into one that couldn't have ever thought about doing it before. So let me explain to you how fractional investing works. Okay, it basically enables you to buy a portion of a property, allowing you to get all the benefits of owning a property without all the expenses. So ideally, instead of buying 100% of a property, you can buy 5% share. Just a 5% share. Strange, but yes. It's like owning a full property, but you only own the 5%. You get all the benefits, but also all the costs, but you only pay 5% of all that. So just think of it simply. Safe Property as a business, they take on the 65% of the property purchase, and they're selling off 5% shares, 5% shares to other investors who can invest under what's called tenants in common. So the beauty of tenants in common is you own your 5%. There's no unit trust structure or weird structures with this. It's very black and white, no smoke and mirrors, very transparent. You buy your 5%, you own your 5%. Wouldn't matter if the 65% shareholder went bankrupt and the bank came in and wanted to take your 65% share. They can't touch your 5%. You own that, it's yours. To do what you like with it. You can keep it, you can eventually sell it if you want, but it's your 5%. So be very clear on that when you buy into this, you're buying 5% of that property that you own. So who should consider a safe property? Well, there's probably a bunch more on the list, but here's a small, I suppose, version of who we believe should consider looking at this sort of investment. Young investors with a small cash deposit. They might have saved really hard being a plumber or an electrician and an apprentice, and worked really hard to save up a $60,000-$70,000 deposit, and what are they going to do with that? It's not really going to buy them much, and it disappoints me when I have to tell them that, I'm sorry, but it really is not going to get you much in the market for that sort of deposit. And the problem is they can't save fast enough to keep up with what the market's doing and how fast the market's growing. So they end up chasing their tail, and it puts them in a really bad position. Also, investors who can't get approval to purchase a property outright. So they might have low borrowing capacity because of the interest rates. Their current mortgage on their home might be a little bit too high, and it's not enabling them to borrow much cash to be able to go and invest. So someone like that might be well suited to this sort of product. An SMSF investor, so a self-managed super fund investor with cash in their super looking to get a better return. Some people just have cash sitting there doing nothing in their super funds, and this is an opportunity for them to get more than what they may be getting in a bank return or something that's very basic, and get a far better return than what they're getting now. Conservative investors not wanting to commit to a large investment is another option for people. Plenty of people out there don't want to go and buy $1 million investment property. They're scared of that number and scared of spending all that money, and it can be a bit scary. So why not buy 5% of one instead? Or for investors looking to diversify. So let's say, for example, you bought 5% in 3 different properties. You're not having to put all your eggs in one basket. You're spreading out your risk through the properties and spreading out the opportunity for tenants and things like that. And it's making it a bit easier to own this sort of property, and a bit more, I suppose, less risky for people who are a bit nervous about that side of things. So let's go through the nuts and bolts of how safe property basically works. So from as little as $60,000 investment, cash investment, you can purchase 5% of a property. You are on the title as an owner of your share. As I said, tenants in common, you'll be on the rates notice, you're on the title. You get all the capital growth benefits. You can sell out at any time, benefiting from the full capital gain on your share. So the 65% shareholder has first right of refusal. If you want to sell, he can say, yes, I want to buy it. Most likely they will. If that's the case, then you can sell your share out. If SAFE aren't interested in purchasing your share, we can sell it for you to another investor as an ongoing concern. So the beauty about this sort of investment too is you can get out a lot quicker than what you might be able to get out of a full property. Rental returns of up to 12% paid monthly. And this is the big one, because an NDIS SDA property can pay very good returns, but everybody out there promises the world, but a lot of them don't deliver. We've been doing this for 6 years. We own our own management business. We know how to do this. We're getting our investors very good returns. And on properties like this, it is possible to get up to a 12% return paid monthly into your bank account or into your super or wherever you're purchasing that property. So what am I investing in? That's the big question. As we said before, it's an NDIS SDA property, accommodating people with disabilities. Did you know that 14% of the population are on the NDIS, which is a $30 billion per annum scheme? So that's about 4 million people Australia-wide are on the NDIS, and that's looking after a fair bit of the population. So you can imagine that that's not going anywhere. I know people might get a bit fearful that, they're going to shut down the NDIS one day, and what happens if this happens? And well, I can tell you now, there's 4 million people that will be basically destitute without the NDIS helping them like it is now. So 6% of those 14%, or 6% of the 4 million people that are on the NDIS scheme at the moment, will receive NDIS SDA funding. So that's for Specialist Disability Accommodation. It's a very specific approval that they have to get, and it requires them, I suppose, to be in a position where they have a significant enough disability that means that they probably will never own their own home or be able to rent their own home, and they will get that funding based on the fact that they won't be able to ever do that, so they get approved under the SDA funding model. We design, build and manage our NDIS SDA homes, so we're in control of the process all the way through, so that's why we know the quality control's there to deliver the service and the product at the other end, so we know we're going to get the tenant in there. Rental returns of up to 12% paid monthly, and we currently have over a 95% occupancy rate in our management side of the business, which I mentioned before. So 3 key factors for successful growth we look at. So when we look at areas that we choose to put a safe property, we're obviously looking at areas that have very strong infrastructure projects, very strong government spending, and very strong population growth. Those 3 factors are very instrumental to growth you'll get, and they're all very relative. So if you find an area that has poor infrastructure projects, not much government spending and low population growth, you won't get much capital growth. Whereas if you find those three items and those three factors in an area where you get lots of infrastructure projects, lots of government spending, lots of population growth, you'll get excellent capital growth. So we're trying to target areas that we believe are going to give you that good capital growth as well as getting the good income. So it's a bit of a double whammy product. You're not only getting the growth, but we want to get the income. We want our cake and eat it too. And with this product, we believe you can if you do it the right way. Obviously, cash flow is king. It's a big statement that we always say. I believe when you invest in investment property, it's like you're buying a small business. You've got to think of it like that. If you're a small business owner or you're running a small business, you would know very well that without cash flow, you're going to struggle and you could very well close up shop. Same as an investment property. If you don't have the cash flow, it can be very, very hard to survive and run that property in a way that's going to enable you to survive through the hard times. If you've got good cash flow, it can help you weather the storms. And that's what we believe an NDIS property can certainly help people do if you get the tenants in there and they're in the right areas and they're the right style of property. So what does an NDIS SDA home look like? Everyone gets a bit nervous when you mention the word disability home. So I'm not surprised, to be honest, because there's certainly some homes out there that do instill a lot of fear into myself as well. So let me go through some of the ugly. Okay, so these aren't our homes. Just to clarify and be confirming here that these aren't our homes. These are other people's homes, brand new homes that have been approved for people with disabilities. But let's just go through a couple of photos and you'll see what I'm saying. So this one here, as you can see from the street, straight away, looks like a disability home. The ramp up to the front door is great. I don't know how they get away with the driveway being like a ski jump, but it is. And that's a disability home from the front. So as I say, first impressions, as soon as you walk up to the door, it already looks ugly. Then we come inside, have a bit of a look inside. I'm not sure if I walked into a prison home or I walked into a hospital home, but this is supposed to be a disability home. If I had a disability and I was looking at this home to move into, I'd be feeling pretty awful. You know, a lot of these people with disabilities have come out of hospitals and institutional type facilities. Some people have even come out of prisons. And this bathroom, to be honest, is very similar to a prison bathroom. It might be compliant, but it's ugly. And that's not where people want to live, and it's not where you're going to get tenants who want to stay, because if they can find somewhere nicer to live, they'll be happily move to somewhere nicer. But certainly the design of these homes is certainly not very appealing for people with disabilities. That's the kitchen, as you can see once again. Fairly ugly looking kitchen, has disability elements in it, but yeah, just not inspiring. You know, people living in there under the NDIS, they want to live there and feel like it's a forever home, not feel like it's some sort of halfway house between a hospital and a house, which these homes look like. So let's have a look at ours, the good. We believe ours are good because we take into consideration first and foremost building a quality home that looks like a home first and foremost. So if you look at our homes from the front, as you can see, they look like regular houses. There's no real difference to the sort of homes we build to a regular house that you might see on the street, and that's why we try and design them like that. You come inside, as you can see inside, these homes don't look like disability homes. They look like regular homes, and that's what we want. We want to have homes that people are attracted to move into and feel like they're living in a nice, warm, comfy home rather than a disability home, which some of these other houses can certainly feel like. As you can see by our bathrooms, they don't look like hospital or prison bathrooms. They look like regular everyday bathrooms. We're very fussy about our designs and trying to make sure that the design comes first. Obviously, they're fully compliant, but we actually spend a lot of time on making sure our homes are designed in the right way. So as we said, before, which one would you choose? If you had a disability, people on the NDIS scheme, they get to choose where they want to live. And guess what? They're not going to choose those ugly homes because they're not. We know they're not because they're choosing ours because that's why we have a high occupancy rate. So proof's in the pudding after 6 years of doing this. We know from what we do that that's what they want. So we're just going to keep building that style of house. So let's have a look at some of the numbers. We've got 3 different examples here of some of the safe property options. We've sold this one out now. This one's been completely sold out. We've only just started doing this, but they're selling fast. So basically you can get into this property here in WA. It's a dual key home, a 3-bedroom by 2-bedroom home. The purchase price of this home, well, the complete price is $1,210,000. And this one will be getting $2,975 a week in rent once it's fully tenanted. So that's one participant either side of the 3-bedroom and the 2-bedroom home. That's about $154,000 a year in rent, which ends up being about a gross yield of about 12, just over 12%, close to 13% per annum. So if you want to buy a 5% share in a property like this, you're looking at $60,513 as your entry cost for a 5% share. And then you've got the advantage of getting that 12% return on the property and obviously the growth on that property. So it's a great location. Perth is very much on the go at the moment. Land prices are moving very fast, and certainly a great value for money area to buy in for this sort of property. The second one we have is in Queensland. This one's about half sold out now, I believe, as of this time we recorded this. This one's in Caboolture. It's $1.454 million. This one's got a 9%, almost 10% return, so 9.92% return. It's a $72,749 5% entry purchase price for that one. So obviously a bit more expensive, but you're buying in a different area. You might prefer Queensland over WA, and you might feel more comfortable with buying something there. So it's a little bit more expensive, but certainly it's an option if you want to hedge your bets in different locations and different states. The third one, once again, jumps up again in price. It's in Tahmoor, New South Wales, a very strong area out that way. Once the new airport goes in out there, I think Tahmoor is going to go pretty crazy. But at the moment, your 3-bedroom by 2-bedroom dual key, you're looking at $1.708 million. It's an 8.68% return. So it's still very good. I mean, most people in Sydney at the moment are probably getting 2.5% return. So an 8.6% gross return is pretty good in Sydney. And that sort of purchase price for that one's about $85,430. So yes, jumps up again, but you might be wanting to look at invest in something that gives you more growth opportunity than income, but the income's still good, and you can get both in that one there too. So 3 different options, 3 different examples of what you can buy. You might say, well, I want to buy one in each. You want to hedge your bets across the 3 different states. So you can do that too. There's no limit on how many shares you can buy or where you buy. It's just more a case of what suits you and what's your why. What's your reason to buy in those areas, and what are you looking for? What are you looking to get out of this investment moving forward? So let's have a look at some of the numbers. I've run some numbers here as a bit of a rough guide on the one in WA. That was $1,210,000 purchase price. We've used an average capital growth rate of 7%. I've used the rent there of $2,975 a week. I've actually assumed with this example that someone's buying this in their superannuation fund. So there's a 15 cents on the dollar tax rate they're going to get on the income. But if you look at this overall purchase price and you look at the overall numbers here, this one here would be about $1,834 a week positively cash flowed. If you divide that or times that by your 5%, it's about $91 a week positively cash flowed. So a $60,000 investment, you're now going to get $91 a week positively cash flowed based on these numbers. And yeah, certainly not a bad return on your investment. Plus you're getting the capital growth. All right, so you're getting the 2 ends of the 2 bites of the cherry there, which is great. And as you can see, in the next 5 to 10 years, you're getting some serious growth on that property too, based on the 7% growth rate. So let's look at some of the real numbers here boiled down that I think are interesting. Purchase price, $1,210,000. 5% investment at the time, $60,500. 5-year value on that property now is $1.6 million, $1.697 million. 5% value in 5 years' time is now $84,000. So you've made $24,000 in 5 years' time on just the growth alone, which is not bad considering you're started with $60,000. The value in 10 years has jumped up now to $2,381,000. You've now in 10 years made $119,000 on your 60 grand. Then in 20 years' time, your value is now $4,682,000 based on the 7% growth. And your value of your 5% share is now $234,000. So that's certainly jumped up in value over that time. If we then look at the income side of things, that was the capital growth, and we look at the income, obviously, as we said, year one was $151,000 per annum, which 5% of that is $7,550. If you look at in 5 years' time, if we times... Now, I'm not using I'm using just the same rental income. I haven't changed the rental income through these numbers, so I'm being very conservative because these rental incomes are going to go up every year via inflation. I'm not saying that's the case, so I'm being very conservative in these numbers. So 5% income after 5 years, you've made 37,750. In 10 years, you've made 75,500, and in 20 years, you've made $151,000 in rental income. All right, so these are all gross figures. There's no cost taken out, but these are all gross to give you an idea on the gross numbers, right? So if we come across here and we look at the capital growth plus the income numbers, this is where it gets impressive. If you, in the first 5 years, if we add the 5-year growth number to the 5-year rental number, we've made $122,600 from our initial $60,000 outlay. If you look at the 10-year number, we've made $194,550 from your $60,000 outlay. But the 20-year number is very impressive. Okay, that's the number that I mean, look, 385,000. It's probably going to be more like 400,000 by that point. Okay, so let's just use 400 as a round number. This is where I believe, and I'm very passionate about it, mums and dads, you need to stop thinking that putting $20 away into your kids' bank account when they're born and when they turn 21, handing them some money. I mean, you really, if you bring some, interest into it from the bank and all that sort of stuff, if you did that for 20 years, you're really only going to be in a position where you've got maybe $25,000 that you can hand them over that time. All right, so in 20 years' time, what's $25,000 going to do? It won't even pay for their solicitor's bill probably. All right, so you can keep doing that and go old school, but it's actually cost you a real, say, $20,000 in your money that you spent to now be worth $25,000 because the bank's paid you some interest over that time to hand to your child. You've had to actually outlay that money. What we would suggest is a great option for people, mums and dads. If you've got equity in your home, if you've got dead money sitting there doing nothing right now, you could pull $60,000 out for little Jimmy, who's now 3, and you could say, or 5, or however old he is, and you could say, well, let's take the $60,000 out. We're going to put that $60,000 into a 5% share in one of these properties. And in 20 years' time, we can basically hand him a check. We can sell that share off and we can hand him a check for $400,000 because we've saved that rent and we've got the growth over that time. Now, sure, you're going to be paying an interest payment on that $60,000 if you take it out of your mortgage. But guess what? Remember, you're $91 a week positively cash flowed. So that property you're going to be paying for that $60,000 with that rent coming in is going to be positively cash flowed anyway. You're going to be paying that money off over that time, as well as the fact that it's not going to cost you anything to do it. So what you've got to understand is you can borrow that $60,000 out of your mortgage. You could keep it out of that mortgage for 20 years in this investment, and it's going to cost you nothing to have done it because the rent will come in and will pay that off for you over that time. So you'll pay a little bit of interest, but guess what? It's for investment, so it's tax deductible anyway. So you can claim that interest back. Now, these are a cash-only investment, and that's really the only way you can get a loan against this investment is to borrow the equity from your home or put in money from super or put in money from cash. But for me, if you want to get your kids set up in life and you want to get your kids in a position where they can be in a position when they're 25, they have a $400,000 deposit that they could easily go and put down on a $2 million property at that point in time. That's probably, their first home somewhere nice or an apartment or something, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. They're in the market at 25. I've been doing this a long time, and one of the stats I always see, which scares me, is that most 55-year-olds I see still owe about a third of the value of their home, no matter where they live. The problem with that stat is that it could be a $3 million home, they still owe $1 million, a $900,000 home, they still owe $300,000. It's all relative. So what it means is that banks are doing their very best to keep you into debt to the day you die. Right? So they want you to be still owing them money and paying them money when you're on your deathbed. If you don't believe me, go and have a look at what the actual word mortgage actually is translated from. The word mortgage in French Latin means death pledge. So any of you out there who have signed a mortgage over your experience and time in getting loans with banks or whatever, if you'd walked into the bank and that paperwork had death pledge written at the top of it, would you have signed it? Well, you did, because it had mortgage written there. So that's how arrogant the banks are. They're saying to you, you're signing a death pledge. You're saying, I will take this loan out and I'll have it to the day I die. And the history I've got with working with clients that I've worked with over all these years is that I can guarantee you, most of these people will have a mortgage still the day they die. So the only way to fix that is to start earlier. The biggest problem most of these people had was they started at 35 with their mortgage or whatever, because that's all they could do. They could only get in later in life. This gives your kids a chance to get in early and start way earlier. If they can start at 25, they can start at 20, whatever their age is. The earliest they can possibly start buying into a property is better. As they say, the old saying, right? It's time in the market, not timing the market. Right? If they can get in early and they can buy something that's going to enable them to be able to get all that growth over that time, it's going to help them. If you've got 3 kids, great. Go and take $180,000 out of your home loan. Go and buy 3 of these shares. And each one of the kids, when they turn 21 or 25 or whenever the number you feel that they're in a position enough to go and buy something in their own name, that's when you give it to them. But the thing is that if you don't do that, putting $20 away each week, well, if you put $60,500 in a bank account and at 4.5% per annum in 5 years' time, you're only making $24,618. It's just not making enough money putting your money in the bank account. You're not leveraging it enough. You're not getting all those advantages of having the rental income as well as the growth. Putting it in the bank, you're only getting 4.5%. Just the growth alone on a property, you're probably going to get 7% as an average. So we've also got that income coming in of up to 12%. So you've got this advantage with this style of property that can leverage your position in a massive way. I think the main thing in this whole picture is you've got to make the decision for yourself, and it's got to be about you. What is your purpose? What is your number one reason? What is your why? Why are you looking to invest? Why are you looking why do you want to invest? Who do you want to help in your life? Do you want to help yourself for retirement? Do you want to help your family with other things that are going on in your life? Do you want to help your kids get ahead? I'm a big believer in the kids because we can create generational change with this sort of product. We can have a whole new mindset of kids coming through that can have invested in something that's going to set them up for their lives and going to put them in a way better position than probably you are right now. So have a think about your why. We're here to help. If you want to reach out and chat to us, happy to help. Go to our website and contact us, or contact us through propertyinvestmentstore.com.au, and happy to have a chat and see what we can do to help. Thanks for your time. I hope you got something out of this.